Hey, welcome everybody to a very special edition of TeamFourStar talking at you. I'm in a different chair this time.
I've taken this one over.
Yeah, it's not often that you're right next to me.
Don't touch me. Motherfucker, I will end you, man.
No, the audience wants you to kiss.
No.
Oh, well, there goes that show.
Well, I guess I'll just go then.
Wait, sorry. No, this is a Q&A and way too many people are asking you questions.
Fuck, and my answers are always inflammatory.
I got a bunch of questions I saw. I was like kind of surprised.
Yep, nope. So we have culled, no, that's the wrong word. We have
mutilated.
We have pulled questions from our Patreon and our Discord.
Pulled straight from your brain sacks.
Yes, direct follow-up to our update video, just to see if there were any areas that people had burning questions that we didn't quite touch on. I ended up getting them nice and sorted. I got all the Patreon questions in one place, got all the Discord questions in another place, so I have a very orderly way of doing things.
I'm personally a very big fan of sorted questions, so let's get right into them, huh?
I'm just glad somebody has the ability to do that.
All
I
right,
lack
fine.
that ability.
Then I'm going to come at you with both barrels with J155 and Rebrand's questions from the Patreon. How are you all handling post-quarantine? And more pointedly, how have we as TeamFourStar changed after the pandemic? What changes have we got to either have to productions or our roster, who's on the team?
So I actually want to get a little bit serious about this. I didn't.
It's a fairly serious question.
Yeah, and this is going to be sort of a somber answer for a lot of people at home, I think, because we haven't talked a lot about how our personal lives have been going and how the company's been going during quarantine, because I mean,
it fucked with us
hard. It fucked with a lot of us, and it fucked with us more than just like stifling our productions. It actually kind of honestly pushed some of us a little further away.
Exacerbated a lot of issues that were already kind of brewing, and with that separation just came time to reflect, and yeah, I mean, that just happens.
Yeah. I know not a lot of people want to hear this, but TeamFourStar has been kind of like been really simmered out over the last couple of years, especially with the pandemic, and a lot of us are kind of focusing on our own lives and our own projects right now. So I know a lot of people have asked about stuff like the Let's Play stuff, or just more unabridged and whatnot.
Yeah, that one obviously took a hit because we were in the midst of filming the first season of that, which now the only season. Unless somebody wants to pick it up, Any big money out there? Big money on unabridged?
We only need $1 million. No, you know what? $500,000 an episode, and we're good. We're great.
Be perfect. Be wonderful. That is at least 100,000 times the budget of the current episode.
Exactly.
So
imagine the quality that you're getting now,
but with more money.
With more money. Because as we all know,
I could get a new car, which I don't need, but I could have.
Because everyone knows that more money means better production. That's just how it works.
Obviously. Look at Waterworld. Clear success.
But yeah, again, very somber, very somber answer over here. Yeah, honestly, like, we're all dealing with our own lives right now, basically. Like, we're still working on projects together, but it's one of the reasons you aren't seeing the big group stuff anymore. We have kind of drifted apart a little bit over 2 years of literally having to be alone in our own spaces.
And there was this level of excitement where it's like, oh man, we can finally start going back into the office, but there's this thing that happens when you start working remotely and you realize, wow, I can do a lot of this stuff in my pajamas, the stuff that I normally do throughout my day. I don't want to get dressed. I would like to stay in my pajamas and do that stuff, which really put a wrench in a lot of the things that, you know, getting back into the office would be excited about. I mean, that space out there, pretty empty right now, pretty empty.
Yeah. Also, the quarantine 15 hit me pretty hard. I had to get back to the gym really badly.
I think you took mine.
Oh yeah, fuck you. You just gave it to me, and I was like,
you've shed a lot more than 15.
Honestly, it's not that I've shed pounds. I've actually gained a bit of weight, but I've cultivated mass.
Yeah, no, it's definitely ended up in all the right places.
Yay.
Yeah, you have two gay men complimenting.
I know, it's perfect. My target audience is right here.
So you have that video about your routine, but
I do.
All right.
But yeah.
So on that same note, we have another question from Rune the 1412. It's a shame to hear that.
Rune.
shame to hear that Unabridged will end after the season. Do you all have any plans for future live action series, such as more quality or AWF? Now, AWF is something that we've teased a couple of times.
Taka and I have actually been talking about that a lot behind the scenes, where it's something that he and I still really want done, whether or not it's with everybody here's involvement or not. It's something that he and I have some passion for. I'd really love to make it happen. Unfortunately, Taka and I are really shitty about making things happen on our own when it comes to actually getting the things together, because neither of us have the technical skills to make something look good. We are very lucky to have people who are able to make things look good in our lives, but their time is very precious and is often used for things that are better for them and the stuff that they enjoy making. And when it comes to other people's passion projects, it's really hard to get somebody else super passionate about something you're working on.
There was also a little bit of a mishap with footage and whatnot, a big technical hurdle.
Yeah, a good chunk of the first episode just didn't get transferred somehow, or got lost in translation, or maybe just never got made in the first place, but
yeah,
they thought they did, and a checklist got marked. There's a lot of things that could have happened, but that was the first big roadblock, because you can't really make a show if you can't even get the pilot.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate. That it's a really great concept, and it's not dead, but it's going to probably need a bunch of work before it gets moving properly.
It's gonna take a while. I think it has a lot of potential, and I really want to see it happen. I was there for a chunk of the filming. I went up to Canada a few times to oversee it, and like, you know, the guys that we had shooting it looked great. Like, the footage looks amazing, and I always trust Taka when it comes to writing comedy, especially when it comes to wrestling. Like, dudes.
Yeah, there's a wheelhouse and then there's a house of wheels.
Exactly. As far as other live action projects, for the most part, that's Stefan's wheelhouse. He is essentially, you know, the, I guess, head of creative direction when it comes to that sort of content right now, because that's his passion. He wants to be a filmmaker, and I want to be an actor, and I want to help him make those things. So when you see these really high concept Raycon ads and things like that, those are almost entirely Stefan's brain baby, also with pretty much the entirety of Unabridged.
Yeah. We do have a couple of things that we are working on. There are some pilots that we are working on. There's I can't even say exactly what it is, but a neat thing, a parody trailer, that's all I'll say. There's a parody trailer that we're working on that could be a lot of fun.
I looked at the scripted to it earlier today.
Yeah. And as far as like ongoing shows, we do have at least 2 concepts that we're playing with.
Yeah, in terms of live action, that's what we got. But in terms of other things, there's a lot of stuff in the works there. Like, this year has been, there's been a lot of meetings this year.
Yeah, it's very productive last couple of months. Very heartening last couple of months, actually. I won't lie. If 2 of these projects go through, it could be really cool, and I'm looking forward to it.
So stay tuned.
And then a quick, since you also did ask about quality, I will say that Kirran and Grant are still working on that.
Yes, that is Kirran and Grant's baby.
Yeah.
And we want to give them the resources to make that baby happen, because it's a beautiful baby. I laughed my ass off, and the New Year's special that they and Stefan cracked together, holy shit. I was dying.
Yeah, and that was very much something we had no involvement with.
I didn't even know it was happening.
Yeah, no, it was just
They just shot it here after dark.
Yep. All right, let's see. This one's from Matt. Is TFS going to continue attending cons where heavily requested? I miss the nearly daily content involving the entire group working together between TFS Gaming and the Twitch stream. So
I love going to conventions, and you know, whatever convention invites us out, I'm usually first in line to say, yes, please, I want to go out there, I want to do this. But the sad reality, and the one that we acknowledge, is the fact that Dragon Ball Z Abridged is what made us popular. We will never question that, and we know there are a lot of people out there that are upset that we stopped making it. And, you know, we have our reasons, and you can feel however you want about those reasons. We can't stop you. But due to the fact that we aren't currently producing the thing that was getting tens of millions of views, and
we're not getting invited to as many conventions.
Pretty much. You know, like it's that whole basically currency of population where it's like, yeah, no, we bring these people in and they'll fill up this big room and they'll get this many attendees to show up. The conventions that bring us out, you know, we'll still pack a room fairly well, but it's all people there that like, you know, love the stuff that we did and still continue to watch the stuff that we do. And you know, we just love meeting people and hanging out and just having a good time with them. So
yeah,
whatever conventions bring us out, hell yeah. As far as like going out to conventions where people just want to see us, we don't have that kind of money to bring ourselves out to them, really.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe we could if there was like if it's a big enough con and we could like set up a booth to try to make it like a big business thing, but there's a whole lot of organizational bullshit that goes behind that. As I, you know, going to AX where we were not necessarily guests for all those years, nor were we ever offered a panel or anything, but we just go out there to meet people. It is a hassle to organize that sort of thing.
All right, and then I have another one from Matthew about what are some of your dream projects and have you been able to work on them while being a part of the team?
It's sort of insane. Like DBZA was my dream project. Like, I won't lie. Everything that I've been doing after DBZA has been trying to figure out what my next dream project will be. Like the X Minutes are kind of at the moment the thing that I'm putting all of my time and passion into, because it
shows too with that last JoJo. Just
oh yeah, and the next one's going to be even better. I fully believe that. But you know, for me, I have had a couple of ideas that I've wanted to pursue in the past. Like, one of them is a comic and one of them is an animated series. I would love to make those things happen. Will they? I don't know. Honestly, it's tough because the world of content out there, there's a lot of people making a lot of shit. Getting noticed, getting picked up, really being successful is difficult. And
we got really, like, you know, timing it, striking while the iron was hot. We got very fortunate in our timing.
Yeah, I think I want to say something that I haven't said publicly. We were not ready for 1 million subscribers.
You've said this publicly so many times.
Okay, well, okay. Hold on. We were not ready for 1 million subscribers, and we certainly weren't ready for 3 million subscribers. And DBZA was a dream. Like, when I said dream project, not only dream and like, oh yeah, this is the thing that I want to do.
It's a passion.
Yeah.
I mean, you love DragonBall.
But moreover, it allowed us to put in an amazing low amount of effort in relation to the amount of views it actually got. There are some TV shows, like with full productions, that get less eyes on them than we got on DBZA, which it might sound like a humble brag, but my point with that comment is it is going to be nearly impossible to match that level of intensity again without putting in more effort, time, and money than we did on DBZA by a magnitude. So at the end of the day, it's going to be tough, and we have things that we want to work on, but yeah, the possibility of us striking again is very low.
Yeah, and plus you had that built-in fandom of DBZ already, so you already had like pre-baked nostalgia in there.
Oh yeah.
So trying to come out with something new that everybody's like, oh fuck yeah, it's like, okay, basically you're going to have to come at it from the angle of, from the guys that brought you DBZA. It's like, okay, their writing in that was good, so I'll give this a chance.
But I do have to say then that the people who actually are successful, like, I'll tease that Ruby's had its ups and downs, but damn, like they put in the time, the effort, they made that happen, they made that work. I really have to like take my hat off to all the people who make that shit happen.
Exactly.
So yeah, I mean, I don't mean to sound like we're not going to try to make new things happen. We absolutely are.
We currently are.
Yes, but DBZA was a gift.
Flash in the pan.
Yeah, a fucking gift.
Lightning in a bottle, if you will. As for me, honestly, we brought this up before. Like, one of the reasons DBZA ended, there's this burnout that you kind of feel. And it's one of the reasons, but it's also a fairly big reason. I had like some severe creative burnout. Like, there are things that I'd love to work on, but as far as it goes, I just, ultimately at the moment, I just kind of want to be a performer. I want to be in things that other people really want to make happen. I want to make those things happen. And that's basically what I've been focusing on.
That's the interesting thing about you, is that you've always been funny, you've always been great to script with, you've always been a great performer. But yeah, for you, being a writer was something you did out of necessity for a long time.
I do it out of necessity because it's this ingrained idea of, you know what, if the work isn't going to come to me, I'm going to make my own work.
Yeah, right?
And I happen to be in a lucky enough position to be able to do so.
You know, on that same vein, we did have a question from Deflator. Oh, sorry, Running Thing. If I mispronounce your screen name, I do sincerely apologize.
But he's also doing it on purpose.
I am. But Deflator did asking, do you consider bringing back Krillin Plays or Renegade for Life when it comes to TFS gaming videos?
I've been asked about that a lot, and honestly, what it came down to, I've said this a lot behind the scenes, but I feel very disingenuous doing that because it feels like I'm trying to take advantage of something that isn't happening. Because those particular Let's Plays were popular mainly because Dragon Ball Z Abridged was ongoing. And it feels very disingenuous to me to do those while, you know, just playing on the nostalgia for a project that isn't ongoing. I know that there would be a lot of people that say, oh no, we love them just because, you know, the way you interpret them and the way you do stuff, and I appreciate that greatly, but I can never shake that feeling within me, and that just kind of taints the whole process to me. Like, I love doing role play as I play through a game. I literally played through all of Elden Ring in a role play as the character that I created. It was fun, and I got several noise complaints, even though I live in a house that's not connected to other houses.
Really? Because
Yes.
I know exactly where you stream, and it seems really hard for that sound to carry to a neighbor.
Here is the, like, I got, you know, like a cop came to my house twice. The first time I was just like, okay, I'm not sure what's going on up there, what's happening. Like, oh, I'm playing a video game, I'm streaming. This is just kind of what I, you know, do as kind of like a side hustle. And they're like, oh, okay, well, you're gonna need to treat your room acoustically. And it's like, okay, I put up some like foam and stuff like that, but I kept going. One of the cops came by the next, like, or a couple nights later, I don't know, it was a different stream. And they're like, yeah, no, we're still getting the same complaint. I'm like, okay, what are they saying? It's like, the call says that they think that there's a schizophrenic next door and somebody might be in danger. I'm like, I do a lot of yelling in various voices, so I can understand, but also mind your own fucking business. It's like, they called them at like 7 p.m. It's like, I could be doing heavy construction over here and I'd be within my rights.
That's just terrible.
I live in a fucking house, come on. There's like at least 5 yards between me and the next house.
Yeah, no, I'm on your side there. That's ridiculous. So on the same vein of DBZA stuff, we have Eric Gibson asking, glad HFIL is happening. It's hilarious and glad you guys have the freedom to tell stories how you want. Are there going to be any similar series set in the DBZA universe? Like, are the Dragon Shorts still happening or are those done?
Dragon Shorts are currently on hold, but we are talking with the animator for those.
Yeah, different than Devil Artemis.
Yes.
All the Dragon Shorts were animated by Barenga.
Yeah. And I always feel sort of bad when I say that these things are on hold because of the animator, but let me be clear. The animators are amazing, awesome people who have done so much hard work.
And we are highly demanding monsters.
We are. And so when we say, hey, they're not able to work on it at this time, that isn't us throwing them under the bus. That is us acknowledging that animators should be treated like people and not work like horses. Currently, we are working with Barenga, though, to work out a new system, possibly upgrade his equipment, because Blender is an amazing program, but one animator is one animator, and that stuff is
the
tough.
bottleneck of one machine with however much visual RAM it has is... Yeah, still have plans, and to us, both the Dragon Shorts and HFIL take place in the Abridgeverse, I guess.
Yeah. We also have one other concept that we're looking at, but I don't want to spoil that because it's later down the line.
Yeah, we may have hinted at it already, though.
Yes.
All right, let's see here. What from George Blacknard? What Easter eggs or obscure references have you put in your original content that haven't been noticed yet or remain underseen?
Anything that hasn't been noticed and remained underseen is probably something that's an in-joke to us, because people are very good about picking up certain references. Some people, it kind of flies over their heads, and I don't fucking blame them, because sometimes we're referencing things from... Whoa!
Real quick, do people know what the images converted to sound from the Android.
Yeah, that's honestly, yeah, that's the one that's probably gone under noticed. And I watch actually a lot of reaction videos these days of some of our older content. Super Android 13, we did a I think it was Kieran's idea actually. I can't remember. It was a while ago.
Yeah.
It almost certainly was, because this is definitely up his wheelhouse. But
we were trying to come up with something for Android 14.
14, and he's the one that always just speaks in the whoosh, whoosh. And the only hint we gave to that particular method of communication was in the description, which nobody checks, where it links you to a program that will allow you to basically take sounds and turn them into images.
Specifically, there is a program out there that will take images and turn it into sound, which
and
is
this will redo it.
Yeah, and this will basically unencrypt that into the image. And I am so happy. I have seen a couple of people, like, here or there. I think there was at least 1 or 2 people on Reddit who was like, by the way, did you know about this? And that made me psyched. So if you ever want to figure out like what those images are, just go to the description, use the program, and you can see what images are coming out of his mouth.
Or if you want to be a bit lazy, you could go to the TV tropes page for TeamFourStar, where it has that linked under a trope.
Oh, well, cool. So hey, either way, it involves a little extra legwork. So
yeah.
Good
but if you want to do it all yourself, you know how now.
So jumping back to just general passion projects for team members, Trevor C94 asked, are there any projects that anyone on the team is working on outside of YouTube or streaming, like game design, writing a book, short stories, or any kind of passion project? I can get the ball rolling here because we all know that Kirran has spent a lot of time working on his card game.
Yes.
That he has streamed a lot of his on his own, just to like get interaction from people, because he likes getting feedback on just how a system works.
Yeah, I've been working on a modified version of the Apocalypse system, trying to streamline a storytelling RPG. It's kind of fallen to the backseat for a while due to a number of things, but the beta of it's still available for anybody that's on our Patreon, and sub to us on Twitch right here. Yeah,
it's on our Discord. It's, I believe, still a pinned message for subs.
I've updated it like slightly since then, but I don't know if the beta book itself has been updated with some of those addendums. But still something I'm working on, and if you want to see a way that is continually being shifted, friend of the channel, the Distortion Devil, Connor. He runs a Fallout-based tabletop campaign that I'm a part of every Saturday over on twitch.tv/theunexpectable, so you can kind of see how the system works. Also done a number of one-shots, both on TeamFourStar, which you can probably find on TFS Gaming, as well as my own channel.
I actually have been working on a comic story. It's really in pre-production, but it's one of those things that I've slowly been kind of chipping away at for the last couple of years. I kind of mentioned it earlier. Whether or not it actually happens is way up in the air, but it's something that I've actually been thinking about since I lived in like Charles, of all places. It's a concept that was originally going to be a TeamFourStar project, and God knows, maybe it still could be. But at the very least, if it happens, like I'm going to be at the head of it.
Yeah, you've been talking about this project probably since we were near the end of the Frieza saga.
Yeah. It's as I said before, it's really difficult with everything I'm working on for TeamFourStar to work on personal projects. In fact, X and X Minutes is basically a personal project that I have made into something for TeamFourStar.
Which just so damn good at shit posting.
Honestly, and I said this on Twitter, the X and X Minutes are literally just me shit posting. Like, they're just like long form collections of shit posts about shows. That's all they are.
All right, so actually jumping back on to Ready to Roll, Nick, we did have a question from pseudonym Fake name. That, you know, now that you've said it, it makes perfect sense.
It took me a little bit to put it together too the first time I read it.
Do you still plan on doing the next TFS at the Table campaign, and will it be played with your system, or will it be 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons? Also, this was also asked by Relic and King Boz in some variation on our Discord.
I appreciate all of the interest. I still do have a plan for a campaign in mind for it. The biggest issue we run into is actually, it kind of rolls back to the first question we had in terms of how we've been adapting to quarantine and, you know, the shifts we've had to make in that regard. So, while I'm very excited to get into that, there are a lot of, first of all, there's a lot of things that we are like currently just sitting in front of us that we need to get cracking on and figure out how we're going to deal with them moving forward before I can sit down and plan out a proper campaign and finish the game that I've been trying to finish for a year and a half. So there's that. And two, one of the other things that I'm running into is I do also run another tabletop campaign that is kind of reaching its zenith points where we're in the end game of it, but that also takes up a lot of the creative tabletop mind energy, even though for the most part I'm improvising a lot of it. You still got a lot of things and can't like conflicts and stuff that you have to plan around. So yes, I do have every intention of doing that, but it's a question of who is going to be at the table for it and who can consistently be at the table for it, which is a big question. And how long will it take for us to clear away a lot of this stuff to make that a viable working, like regular working thing? In the meanwhile, I'm still amenable to doing like one-shots and things of that nature, but it's not something that I think I'd be able to run on a regular basis.
Yeah, it is worth noting that we have been talking about doing another either shorter campaign or one-shot with the Avatar Legends system on TFS At The Table, but that would be something actually I was going to run with you, Scott, and maybe a few other people joining in, since there's a lot of interest.
I am a big Avatar guy, so
stay tuned. Let's see. I think we've actually entered a bit of a lighter fare when it comes to the Patreon questions. So we have the next one from French Fries, asking, have you read any Dragon Ball fan manga or comic? If so, what's your favorite and worst so far?
my favorite one is actually the one about what if Vegeta went to Earth instead of Goku.
That's a pretty good one.
I
didn't read it, but I know its plot synopsis, which is kind of cool. Like, because he's already stronger than Goku, so he's already doing all the shit that, you know, he's basically conquering everything that Goku struggled with.
I will say his, like, so the manga's a little bit weird because it blazes past a lot of the original material, but then it gets the fight of Vegeta versus Kakarot, and then it, like,
yeah,
it like,
because, like, the gimmick is that Kakarot is not particularly strong, but he's been beaten up so many times that he's had so many boosts in his power level that he's surpassed Vegeta already.
Vegeta.
Earth Vegeta.
Yeah, and it, like, the story, it doesn't necessarily, the story slows down, even though there's a ton of fighting. There's so much fighting, and it's a really, really good fight, but there was a part of it I was like, okay, we get it. You can finish up the story now. But it was really good. I also used to read Multiverse.
Same, I was gonna say that was the only one that I read consistently. It has its ups and downs.
Yeah.
Its translations were hysterical at times.
Bringing the deads back to life.
Yeah, King Kai, does this mean the deads are back to life now?
Yeah. I don't want to tease them too.
No, I mean, they're not native English speakers, and the people that translated it are, you know, I mean,
yeah,
nothing against it. Like I said, I find amusement in it, which makes me enjoy it more.
It's true.
There's nothing wrong with it.
All right, and then we have Marwan Abunura asking, seeing as how that moment was the inspiration for Popo being all-powerful in the Abridged series, how would you have abridged the scene where Goten and Kid Trunks fight Mr. Piccolo? So a bit cart before the horse, taking the Buu Saga scene of Goten and
basically taken them and how we would have done that. Yeah. Honestly, it probably would have gone very similar to the skit that I play out on panels, like when people ask that question, which is this idea that Goten and Trunks wake up in this strange place that they've never seen because nobody ever took them to the lookout except for when Trunks was like a baby. They're walking around the corner and they just see Mr. Popo, and they are immediately terrified. Like, they're just like, what's happening? Did he kidnap us? Ah, shit, let's get him. They go Super Saiyan. Mr. Popo drops what he was holding. He starts blocking their punches. Obviously, we change his facial animation.
Yeah, what's happening? Yeah.
Smack, smack. Your Super Saiyan punches mean nothing to Popo.
Yeah. That was probably exactly how it was gonna go.
There's no other way. I mean, But that was in fact the moment that we decided, no, Mr. Popo's too fucking strong. He could have dealt with anything. He just chose not to.
All right, now we have Nicholas Krynock with a JoJo question. JoJo stands were named after tarot cards and Egyptian gods, but now they're named after bands and musicians. If you had to come up with a new naming convention, what would you name all stands after? Their vote is Nick Cage movies.
That's really funny.
I mean, the musical part was always part of it, whether it was the stand user or the stand itself.
Oh, yeah.
Eventually it became the stand itself.
Yeah, I mean, with WAMU and AC/DC and
Zenyatta, Minyata.
Oingo Boingo, yeah.
Let's see.
Hell, even Polnareff is named after a singer, so.
Had to change, like, switch to a different naming convention.
Honestly, I would name them after anime.
Oh, after various anime and like mangas and shit?
Yeah.
Not a bad one. I like the direction, but I think Nick Cage movies specifically just a little too restrictive. I'd go with like B movies and action movies.
Yeah, that seems like that would be broad enough to cover most of them.
Yeah.
I summon Die Hard with a vengeance! This is my stand, Birdemic!
Is that, I guess that is a B movie. I can almost call that a Z movie.
Yeah, that is
all the way down there.
Actually, The Room would be a really cool stand. The Room!
I did not hit her.
It's just, nothing touches you in the room.
Yeah, no, in the room, anything you say goes. I did not hit her. And then she's not been hit.
Oh, hi. Anyway.
No, the room just gives you breast cancer.
Oh, no.
Definitely have
breast cancer.
You definitely have breast cancer.
Get the doctor. James Krasowski asking, favorite Let's Play you've done? So
Fallout.
Obviously more Nick.
Fallout.
That's pretty clear.
Fallout 4. It's one that I actually still go back to and watch some of like the moments from that. There was just something so special about that one. It hits so many things so well. And I know there's like a lot of love for many of the Nuzlocks. I mean, I named my dog after Mr. Steak from the Silver Nuzlocke. But the Captain Richard Ravage's tour around Boston is just full of so many highlights.
Sometimes when I find clips of people killing father, the one from ours is in there too.
My favorite, and I haven't done a whole lot of them, and this one's really only available on my channel, but my Hollow Knight playthrough, just because I really fucking love Hollow Knight.
Solid game.
The Path of Pain took you so long.
5 hours!
5 hours?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, I'm not very good at video games. I don't know if you know this.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that actually marked the end of our Patreon questions, at least.
Right on.
Unless I've horrifically mutilated the list here. We're on to general TFS productions, whether it be stuff for one of our channels or stuff for streaming. We have Mulberry Hawk asking, will TFS be doing any sort of review of the new Demon Slayer season?
No.
The closest we got is I can't even remember which episode of the Topcast Pod Show that was on, but we gave our brief feelings about it, and it was good. I
did genuinely enjoy it.
Beautiful animation. I really liked Jewel Guy's hot anime waifus.
I hated them. Oh, okay, no, I hated one of them.
They're basically all stereotypes, but
the whiny, screamy, cryy one got on my nerves immediately. The other two are cool. The other two are actually fine. But
I think they're all fine.
I mean, they're all fine. That's a deep cut. I will say the animation was really good. Really great fight scenes. Zenitsu is actually pretty fucking great in that season.
But man, is he good at sleepwalking?
Yeah. It still does the thing where the villain dies, and as they're dying, they give the backstory, which I think is a cheap, very cheap and very unsatisfying way to get backstory.
I think that's just something you have to accept about Demon Slayer, though. That's just what it does.
I mean, yeah, it's still not good.
To you.
Yeah, there are probably people who kind of dig, like, no, I'm getting all of this background. Which,
yes, I mean, there's a novelty to it where it's like, okay, like, yeah, they're evil. I want to see them, like, fight. I want to see them lose. And now that they've lost, okay, no, I see what made them this way. Okay, fuck off and done.
And then we have PV2 asking, I've noticed a difference in art style between HFIL and the Dragon Shorts.
Yep.
The latter seems closer to Dragon. That's probably going to be the answer. Let's go ahead and finish the question for posterity's sake. The latter seems closer to Dragon Ball FighterZ. Is there any particular reason for the difference?
It's two different animators. I mean, Devil Artemis, who's already refined his own style for 3, 4, 5 years now, doing stuff on his own channel, which check it out. He does great shit. And then there's Berenga, who has, kind of refined his own style. The first time that we found Berenga was because he had basically done little animations of the little super shorts that we had done for social media, because we dare not post them to YouTube at the time because we would be, I don't know, crucified.
It was just newer footage, and we just didn't want to fucking deal with that.
We didn't want to deal with that. There's a lot of reasons DBZA ended, and that is among them.
All right, so this one goes to gaming, and this has kind of been asked by a lot of people, but in different ways. So I'll try to sum about 4 people up in one go. Cleric, Allard, Quentin, Entheon, and Arbiter Prime had asked, will Lani get back into gaming content along with Kirran and Grant, or is that a dead trio? More specifically, are the Nuzlockes specifically dead?
I'm never going to say never to anything, but I know as it stands right now, both Kirran and Grant have, first of all, they have a very deep and long-lasting friendship. The first time Grant was ever on any of our videos because he was coming up to visit Kirran, and we were still streaming Bloodborne back then. I think that was like the first thing we ever really streamed on the channel. They've been friends for a long time, and they have a very specific energy. And when it came time to do the Sun and Moon Nuzlocke, they really wanted to do it kind of on their own, just to, do things the way they do, because when you add somebody else in there, it kind of changes the flow of things. It changes the energy. And I won't lie, it kind of hurt for a little bit, but I understand. They want to work together, and I want them to be happy, and I want them to make the kind of stuff that they want to make, because when they make stuff, I think it's fucking magical.
Yeah.
So as of right now, that's not a trio that we're going to be seeing anytime in the near future.
One of the primary things that I wanted the company to focus on was making sure that everyone who was working on projects was fully, or at least, any compromises that needed to be made were agreed upon beforehand. I wanted people to be fully immersed and happy with the projects that they were working on to the fullest extent that we could accommodate. And at the end of the day, Kirran and Grant have an energy, a flow that they are really tuned into. And they were finding that,
they're drift compatible.
Yeah. And when it comes into conflict with other people, say with Lani, then they're not happy, and they're not feeling like they want to do it continuously.
Yeah, it got to a point where they felt like doing some of the Let's Plays on a continuous basis, day in, day out, because that's how we, kept the lights on, basically.
Yeah.
And it basically just became part of a factory. And so no matter how cool the job is, you play video games, yeah, cool. No, doing it consistently and feeling like you are forced to, that is still a job, and it affects you mentally. And to the point where, you start to hate it. And
that reflects in the work. Let me be very absolutely clear. A lot of people think like, well, that's your job. Do your fucking job. Yeah, guess what? If I'm miserable when I'm recording something, you're going to realize that I'm miserable, and you are not, okay, you might like the results if you enjoy people being shitty and crabby, but like, I'm going to say this, and I'm going to emphasize this. When people say, why aren't you working on blank? Because we don't fucking want to. That's it. If we're not working on something, if we are not making something, it's because we don't fucking want to, because if we force it, it's gonna be bad. That's all there is. So like when people are like, well, they should do this, they should do that. If we feel like, yeah, that would be really cool, and then we want to put in the energy, sure, we'll do it.
That's the thing in the comments when you get the questions about like, why aren't they just doing Buu? That's all people care about. It's like, yeah, okay, we could shit something out for that. We could literally just literally shit something out, and you know, it wouldn't be as good as it was. We wouldn't necessarily be happy with it, but it would be out there.
Yeah.
And that's not something we want to put out. And when it comes to Let's Play content and stuff like that, once that mentality hits you, it kind of poisons a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And that really goes back to the first question too.
Sorry, I didn't mean to get so heated there, but it is important that people understand that the personal enjoyment and passion for our project is that is why DBZA was good at all. Is because we had a passion, and we do fire for it.
I want to emphasize the fact that we do recognize that we're in a very fortunate circumstance to be able to say that we don't have to do what we don't want to do in certain regards. I mean, there's still things that we have to do to make things work, but we have the privilege of choice that not a lot of people have.
And we've also been very open publicly about if people don't want to watch the new other things that we make, we, one, don't hold it against them, and two, can't do anything about it. Like, and we've accepted that. Like, that is, I don't know if people really understand that we understand that, but we really do, and we've been open about it. So
this one I'm asking because I actually don't know what they're referring to, so this may just be a complete
a mystery.
Yeah, no. So Bart Octane, having that problem a lot actually. Whatever is asking, whatever happened to that show with Wooly Versus and Matt McMuscles?
Oh, that's still happening.
Pixels Court.
Yeah, that's currently in
okay.
Yeah, that's Pixels Court. That's still in production. I understand why people are specifically bringing up those two. Look, it's still happening. The second episode is currently being animated. We're trying to build those up.
It's much more hands off here at the office because it's being worked on primarily by a friend of ours.
Yes.
And it might actually be a related question. Diesel Dust. He, Mark, the engineer, he's the guy that, like, this is, you know, his baby basically. Like, that's Diesel Dust was his baby, and now he wants to work on this, which I believe was scripted by Antfish and...
Yeah, I know that a couple of different people have been working on a couple different episodes. I think...
I've been very hands-off with this project.
Yeah.
I provided a voice for the first episode.
I think I provided the voice for the second episode. Yeah, it's ultimately Mark's baby, so...
Yeah, we just want to give him a platform to show it off.
All right. We have Sifu Hotman 3 asking, any interest in covering some of these recent anime seasons or shows in a Talkcast Pod show or Talkcast Pod show like format? Perhaps another episode going over multiple anime if there's just not enough to talk about for one.
The big thing is, like, it needs to be something that really grabs me. Like, I hadn't been grabbed by an anime for a very long time until Jujutsu Kaisen came out. I'm just like, oh shit, this is my jam. I think the one before that probably would have been Mob Psycho. So you get like a large gap between shows where it's just like, oh no, I need to watch this one. Demon Slayer, I'm fine with. I enjoy it. I think it's all right. I think it's bingeable, but it's not something that I'm like, gung-ho, yeah, let's fucking go with it.
I've got a show that I think you'd really like.
Okay.
Ranking of Kings.
I've heard.
Yeah.
I've heard a few people come out and tell me that I'd probably enjoy that one. Obviously, I still enjoy My Hero. Like it gives me those, you know, childlike shonen shivers.
It's
shonen anime.
Good shonen anime.
Attack on Titan. I know that just wrapped, and I'll probably eventually watch it. It's a show that's like very slow for me, though.
Sorry, I don't want to cut in, but I have seen the Attack on Titan dub all the way to this end of the final season, part 2. Now going into part 3. You're not missing much.
Okay. I'll hold off for a while then.
Yeah, it's a lot of talking, a lot of world stuff, a lot of like intrigue and a lot of that. So
it's a neat world, but it's just like, okay, there's a lot for me to try to get into here.
I fell off near the end, which I mean, I'm not gonna like comment on its quality. It just didn't keep me.
No, I'm waiting on Chainsaw Man. I hear the manga's sick, and I really want to see what the anime brings.
Oh, I would just recommend, like, honestly, I think you should read the manga and then watch the anime. I think. Oh,
does the anime already exist?
Well, I mean, no. But
okay.
No, I think you should read the manga. It's really, really good, and it's. I think the anime is going to do it justice. It's MAPPA after all, and I know they care about it. I saw their preview. They give a shit about this, what the show's gonna be, but I think the manga is still a wholeheartedly worthwhile experience to go through.
I don't deny that. I simply lack the ambition to go out and find it.
I get you.
All right, final question from the production category from King Cheshire Zorura. Where do you hope to take TFS in the future as a general direction for the brand?
I think we've actually kind of talked a lot about that today, but there are a couple things we can't talk about yet because there's a lot going on.
It really depends on how some of these things that we're working on pan out.
Yep.
I mean, there are a lot of different ways that it can go. I would love to get to the space where we are a legitimate production company, actually pumping out stuff that you might see on, you know, like Netflix or Adult Swim or places like that. But that's going to, like, you know, it feels right now like a pipe dream that we need to really put something out there legitimately to make that happen. And honestly, yeah, that's essentially my goal. I would love to be a, you know, like one of those like logos at the end of an Adult Swim show, like William Street or Titmouse or something. It's like, yeah, there it is. Bam. You know, that's where I'd like to see everything go.
I'm basically on the same boat as that, but like for me, it's tough for me specifically because I do fancy myself a writer, but a lot of my talent is editing. But I love editing together projects. I love building like with pieces that are given to me. That's kind of my big whole thing. Like I don't even consider myself much of a voice actor, like honestly, because I've just spent the last couple of years really honing in on the thing that gives me life, which is shit posts.
Yeah, you're insanely good at editing, something that literally drives me up the wall to like, to me, it's like trying to watch paint dry if you have to make me sit down and edit something. And I know that shows.
You wouldn't believe just how much pleasure I've been getting out of working on the Jojo video lately.
I can understand the concept of it, where it's this little bonsai tree that you're slowly crafting into its final shape until it's like just immaculate to you. And I've been able to do that before, but man, it like just that slow click.
But ultimately the point is I have no idea exactly. We don't exactly know or have concrete plans on where TeamFourStar is going to go because let me tell you, we tried to make some concrete plans a couple years ago and then things happened.
Some things.
And so yeah, the last couple of years have been a lot of us trying to figure that out, trying to start new things.
Honestly, the entire process of us being an organization has been that.
Yeah.
If we're gonna be frank, nobody actually knows what they're doing. We're all just pretending to know what we're doing until it happens.
Yeah. And hopefully things work out. Like, we have projects coming up. There are things in the pipeline. There are deals being made. If they work out and then things take off, that'd be great. But who knows?
Yep. Lots of question marks out there, even for us. If you could answer that for us, that'd be great.
Especially if you have a lot of money.
Yeah, if you have a lot of money and really want to make Unabridged Season 2 happen, like we said, 500,000 an episode would be perfect. I could have 10 new cars and you could have 10 new episodes. And
as you can see, we're very financially responsible.
Hey, we could crash a couple of them for an episode. That's tax right.
Oh God, we turn into just the worst kind of influencer.
I want my Blues Brothers episode.
Oh God. Well, we'd be perfect for TikTok.
Yeah.
All right. Well, now here's the fun stuff. We're shifting from production into DragonBall/DragonBall Abridged questions.
Okie dokie.
We have Zengin with our first question. Were there any jokes for the Buu Saga that you had in mind while it was still planned for season?
Yeah, we had a couple.
Absolutely were. I'm wondering like which ones would even be like worth shouting out because they know
everybody knows that Vegeta's last words during the final explosion were gonna be. Everyone has already said like it had to be best buddy. So
I even did that on YouTube, or not. I did that as like a Twitter shit post because everybody were asking me to dub over it.
And I will say, we usually try and stray away from the obvious joke if we can. But there's sometimes
I'm not even sure if that's what we actually would have ended up going with, but that is definitely the first draft.
I would have absolutely been okay with that because you know me, I'm all for tying up bows on jokes or running themes.
One of my big things, and this might actually be something that shows up in Dragon Shorts, I don't know, but I was kind of insistent that Vegeta would call Goten Kakatot.
Yeah, I could see that. I remember that there was I was trying to, for the longest time, figure out the characters for like Trunks and Goten, because it kept kind of going back and forth. Like, we wanted to really emphasize the difference in their characters a little bit more, because that's one of the things that we do. We
also wanted Himilnik and Megami to voice them respectively.
That was an idea that we had, was that, you know, Megami was going to play Trunks and Himilnik was going to play Goten. Mommy's playing their sons. But that was, you know, there was a lot of ideas that we had.
Yeah, one that I think wrote itself that we knew was going to happen is when Babdi's in Vegeta's brain. It's like, come on, you can be so much more powerful. If you just give in, I'll give you the power to beat Goku. You know, the funny thing is, you're playing me. What? Just gives in immediately. Ending that brick joke.
Yeah. There was also one, and I've been, okay, can I spoil one that we're just probably never going to do?
I mean, yeah.
When Buu finds, like, when Gohan goes up to Buu, there's that original line of like, you wanna fight Buu?
Oh yeah, of course.
Fight you. Fight you. No.
Yeah, what's the matter? Yeah, what's the matter, boy? Need an adult?
No. Bam! I am an adult.
Bam.
And that was going to
finish that joke.
That was going to be the
sell those t-shirts again.
Yeah.
So speaking of the best laid plans of writers, Mobile Key's asking, what was the original plan with Bojack, if there was any?
We actually had like...
There's a reason that movie didn't happen, honestly.
Yeah, we had about like the first half done, and then we kept going back to it and going back to it and going back to it.
Because there's so little footage of the actual villains, and that's usually the fun of the movies.
Yeah, and honestly, we could have like cheated some shots. Like,
yeah,
if I went back to it now, I probably could cheat more shots than I thought I originally could. I will actually actively say my editing has gotten better in that regard. I could probably make more of it work now. But I remember that we were just going through it, and we like, when we approach these films, we often have the villain as the centerpiece, and then we approach it with not a theme necessarily, but like a tone, an intent.
Yeah, and this one, all we really had built up for Bojack was, we are space pirate, and yeah, we can run with that. Well, I remember one of the ideas was making every single one of his henchmen a different type of pirate.
Yeah, but we just weren't happy with the results that we were getting. There were a couple of really solid jokes in there that I liked,
which I can't remember anymore.
One of my favorite being about, like, you know, Jesus and Goku. Another one about like when they were watching the people watching the tournament having on TV.
Oh yeah, at the very beginning.
Some of the stuff with Mr. Satan was pretty all right.
We had the most fun writing for Mr. Satan in that.
Yes,
but he's not in that movie a lot.
He's in the movie enough to have a couple of really solid jokes, but honestly, if it were up to me, I would have loved to have just had the entire movie be about him. Because honestly,
just have all of the events of it happen in the background.
Yeah, but it's just, while I actually still love that movie to a certain extent because it's got beautiful shots, just insanely beautiful shots, wonderful music.
But it's the most middling of all the Dragon Ball movies when it comes to plot and how it like rolls over.
Yeah. So ultimately, it was really the big fucking shining sign, the writing on the wall of like, hey, you're not getting a whole lot out of this. You're not enjoying this process. You aren't feeling the jokes that you're coming up with for it.
That was when we know the burnout hit.
Yeah, oh, that was when it was very obvious that we had spent over a decade on one show and we were starting to, like, we felt like that well was running dry.
Especially after how, like, 60 was this big cultivation, this massive love letter to Dragon Ball for us.
Yeah.
And just feeling like, at the end of the epilogue, I was like, man, this feels anticlimactic, and those being like the last words in the series. Cannot even explain to you how much that resonates with how writing Bojack felt.
Yeah. So, sorry, I know that some of these have got to be a little bit depressing, and
being honest.
Yeah, and again, I apologize for now I'm back in my anxiety headspace where I went off a little bit earlier. Again, I'd like to apologize if I kind of like, I was not targeted at any particular person watching. Let me just say,
you're cool.
Yeah, I need to explain everything. That's how my brain works.
Somebody tell him he's fine, and then somebody tell him he's wrong, and he'll focus on that one.
Yep. Nope. The person who said I'm fine, you don't exist.
When you call like Best Buy or whatever to ask for something, do you give them the whole reason why you need it?
Sometimes.
You're thinking he calls Best Buy?
That's an example.
Is there even a Best Buy around here anymore?
There's the one by
Okay.
635.
Yeah,
Whatever.
like, actually, it's actually feast or famine. Either I am very quick and to the point to get that conversation over with, or if I feel like I'm imposing on them, I will try to give them a big explanation. And yeah, you're right. There is no reason to do that. I'm being...
I do.
Yeah.
And when he texts you, God help you, because it will start with hey,
Oh,
and then a minute of you going, what?
Yeah.
What?
You understand that on Discord, when you say, do you have a minute? And then you're only going to text me anyway. Just text the thing, just type in the thing you want to ask me.
Fair,
That's
fair.
all.
Yeah, fair is fair. You've done so much better recently.
I
But there
know.
was a definite period of time where I had Discord open, I just see a hey, and I go, God, this could be anything.
Worse-
on one end of the spectrum
Worse
to the
yet,
other.
worse yet, can I ask you something?
Yeah.
First of all, you already did. Second of all, just fucking ask it.
Sorry, I'm just the dog's not.
No, speed up. Let's speed
When
up
I
Kaiser.
started talking to him, I got so many, hey, can I talk to you about something later?
I'm sorry I'm socially awkward.
We all are.
You're fixed now.
All right. So, asks, what is one thing you really wanted to do in DBZA that the other two writers vetoed? So, you know, for Kaiser, it would be Nick and Taka.
The funny thing is, Kaiser has final veto rights on pretty much any joke.
Yeah.
So even if Taka and I are like really into something, he'll just tell us, no, that's not happening, because he's creative lead on that.
Specifically, it was really on DBZA. On HFIL, it's a little bit more.
Well, on HFIL, we're way more open with what we can do.
Yeah.
For DBZA, not only is it like, no, we want to stick to like some certain character tropes. We don't want to go beyond the line on some things. And two, we don't have the fucking footage for this. Shut the fuck up, you morons.
Yeah, there are, oh my God, so many times where I'm like, this joke is, I'm so glad you just spent 5 minutes on this joke. It can't work.
It will never work.
But yeah, there is one joke that Kurt really wanted to make, and you were kind of semi on board with. I'm not even sure.
We're talking about Trunks?
Yes.
Yeah. We eventually, you eventually made the joke happen in the behind the scenes video, but the idea of Gohan actually railing Bulma,
Yes.
it's just so absurdly funny to me, and way beyond funny to Taka.
Yes, and I had to actually step in and be like, hey, he's known her since he was a child. There are some really bad implications there. We don't want to go there.
Yeah, but he's older and jaded and hot now, and she's still old and hot.
Yeah. And so it's like, I totally understood where the comedy and it's very baughty.
Yes.
But I am the person, and all y'all at home who would have loved that joke, I am very sorry.
We also acknowledge that there are a lot of people out there that are made uncomfortable every time we have one of those key blast sex jokes.
And you know,
But they're fucking funny. Deal with it.
all right. So,
hold on, was there any other jokes? I feel like there's gotta be one.
There are probably dozens of them, but most of them have faded into the background of my brain. I mean, the show ended like almost 4 years ago.
Yeah. Like we've forgotten more jokes than we've made.
Mm-hmm.
Lucian Silverpaw, how is that possible? Whatever. Lucian Silverpaw asking, have you considered doing any more material in collaboration with TotallyNotMark?
Look, if Mark wants to do anything with us at all, ever, he merely need hit me up. Because I don't have anything particularly in my mind, but I love that dude.
Yeah, he does some really great video essays. He does some amazing reviews. At the moment, that's not something that we're looking at making. And, you know, that's in his wheelhouse. We brought him in for DBZA because dude loves Dragon Ball. Like, eats, breathes, sleeps Dragon Ball, and we feel that.
Hell yeah. I mean, I did it for over a decade.
And he was also one of those people who really appreciated our work. And it was one of those moments where like, oh, somebody posted something about us. Oh, this is really fucking, like, holy shit, this guy really knows what he's talking about. Like his detailed breakdowns of some of the things that we wrote were just like, no, this is exactly how we felt when we were doing it. Holy shit.
Yeah, I was actually really surprised. There were like when he would give insight into things where I'm like, that was entirely subtext. Holy shit.
But entirely accurate.
Yeah.
We love Mark and wish him continued success, especially now that YouTube is maybe sort of sorting shit out. I don't know, but it's always a quagmire.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed. All right. So last question for the Dragon Ball section from Big O2213. How long were you all planning on Krillin's ending to the Abridged series?
A long time.
A long time.
It wasn't with the inception of the own count, but I think we had that ending planned, if not by the time he blew up on Namek, certainly by the time we started season 3.
Yeah. It's a little weird that our show ends on a sex scene, but you know what? Quite frankly, considering that like it happened 3 times in the show, I'm actually okay with that.
Yeah. Krillin. The thing about that is, Krillin was the most consistent character throughout the show.
Oh, yeah, he's the main character of the show. Let's be honest.
He's not the main character, but he is the most consistent. He was in every single episode until somewhere in the middle of season 3.
Actually, there's a term for it: stealth main character. He's the stealth main character.
Yes. Yeah, he showed up in some way, shape, or form in every single episode. And I know episode 30 was just like a flashback of him exploding, but hey, he's still there. He made it. And he's there at the end screaming again. So he's in every single episode until, God, probably about halfway through season 3. And I recognize that on the script when I'm going in to record, because I'm usually in there recording for like 3 or 4 characters. And I'm like, holy shit, there's no Krillin this time. What happened?
I think that's actually been disproven. I think there's at least 1 episode. I can't remember which one it was. I think it's from season 2 or 3 that Krillin is technically not in.
Feel free to correct me in the comments, but the first time I recognized it was sometime in the middle of season 3.
But yeah, but that's still every episode save 1.
So yeah, let the man get his due at the end. Yeah. We spent a majority of the show showing how many times he gets his shit slapped in.
I think it's also fair. I want to say something about that because some people thought like that we wrote 18 to be a prize for Krillin, and I think that is absolutely not. I think if you actually watch and like read how it plays out,
we acknowledge that like in the beginning she says, yeah, he's kind of cute.
That's one of the things we actually focused on early on was that there was an attraction to him, and then as he showed himself to be a better and better guy, it's like, this guy, holy shit, if we weren't in a life or death situation right now, I'd be going out with him. Yeah, and they were going to, we could not change whether or not they ended up with each other, so we tried to write very actively that no, she likes this dude, and this dude likes her not because she's pretty, although he definitely recognizes that.
You gotta recognize there's attraction.
Yeah, but he finds her to be cool and mysterious, and as it goes on,
the whole conversation with him and Master Roshi. Oh, her confidence is stunning. She does this adorable little thing with her hair where she brushes it out. Fantastic. How's her rack?
Yeah, and we actually part of writing that was actually like because writing
trying to actually humanize that relationship, which. God bless Toriyama and his ability to write so many things. He does not write romance.
He came so close with Gohan and Videl. So close.
That's probably the best he's done.
It honestly, yes.
Until like Dad, Vegeta, and Super, but then I don't think he's writing that, is he?
Yeah, he's kind of writing it. He gives the outlines.
Vegeta's relationship with Bulma and Super is actually really oddly healthy.
Yeah, for the most part.
All right, home stretch now with personal questions.
Oh boy.
Starting with Griffin Law, it's LW, game player. What is the most nonsensical thing you have ever said in your voice acting / funny man career?
Oh God, I have no idea. I have said wild shit. Imagine my slong in this form.
It's gotta be up there. God, there are. It's almost certainly something as Krillin.
Almost certainly.
But then again,
either that or it's Vegeta.
Yeah, I've said so many fucking things. It's really hard to nail that one down without actually giving me a few minutes to actually think on it.
Here, I'll do you one favor. There's
Please.
a question specifically for Scott. He can answer it, and then maybe we'll bounce back to you. So Shade asks you, Scott, would you consider doing another stage channel in the Discord?
I really want to. Like, okay, so getting a little personal, last couple of years, worst couple of years of my life, to be completely frank with you, and it has made me a little bit difficult to kind of like be on camera or talk to people openly because my anxiety and depression have been at an all-time high. And so I've been wanting to do those really badly, but I also kind of like, I'm always afraid that I'm going to do or say something stupid. So it always makes me self-conscious. But I do want to do them. They seem like a lot of, like the first one I did was a lot of fun. All of the spaces I've been doing on Twitter have always been a lot of fun. So I do want to do another stage, and maybe I'll make that happen in the next like month or two.
I still got fucking nothing, man. Like, I've said so many damn things.
So just your entire career has been outrageous.
My entire career has been outrageous and unnecessary.
All right, so Overlord Darkmoon asking, I think this might be directed at Scott, but it could go to all of us. How long until everyone else in TFS becomes VTubers?
I actually have a VTube model, and I was planning on premiering it.
I had ideas for one, but one of the reasons that I ever would have to begin with is just the fact that Taka can be so infectiously enthusiastic about things.
Yeah.
Like that boy has he has a passion for like when he really gets into something, and he got like super into VTubing, and he's like, oh man, I love doing this and that. It's like he shows you the appeal of it so hard. But I recognize that if I were to do it, I would never be able to do it with the same fervor and conviction as him.
Nope.
So it goes along the lines of like, yeah, this would be fun, but what else could I be putting my time towards? And I already had decided at that point that I wanted to get into shape to just look better on camera. So it's like, it kind of feels antithetical to then say like, nope, here's my avatar.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
I still have an idea cooking around in my brain for potentially doing some like theater with something like that, because that really appeals to me, but it's not something I'm immediately pursuing.
And I don't know if I'd ever get into VTubing. Heck, I'd put my face on camera more if it wasn't for the fact that my streaming setup is directly opposite of my bed. So I just don't want people looking at my bed.
Yeah, I know.
So no camera. Let's see here. Another question for Scott. How's husband Neko?
Actually, I'm really excited to say this because I don't talk about my husband very often. He actually got a Cicerone certification.
Oh, nice.
Now, if you don't know what a Cicerone is, most people probably don't. It's basically a beer expert. Like a sommelier is to wine, wine experts. He is an expert in beer. The different types of beer, triples, IPAs.
Because I know he has a very sensitive palate, so yeah, that's something. And beer is so insanely complex.
I know a lot of people are going to think that this is bullshit, but he actually did take the super taster test. He does, in fact, have a palate that is more sensitive than the normal person, which makes him really good at this kind of shit.
Like he can't have certain types of fish, right? Because he can taste the metals in some of them.
He can taste the mercury in a lot of fish, yes. It's not great for him. So he got a certification, which now means that he is a hot ticket item for breweries, for bars, which is good for him because that's like, he was a teacher for many years, but he's kind of like gotten away from that over time because
you gotta follow your passion.
Yeah, or basically, like a lot of my friends, my husband took the opportunity during the pandemic to pursue something he otherwise could not, and it's paying dividends already. I mean, he's already getting a raise at the Alamo Draft House that he works at near us.
Nice.
He's been brewing stuff. He's already brewed like over 12 different beers at our apartment with that fucking machine that makes so much noise. I love you, Christopher. You are my life. And he's planning on working at an actual like full-on brewery pretty soon.
Nice.
Honestly, it's going to be about job openings and who's looking, but
of course.
Yeah.
All right. This next one, give me a wink if this is maybe too business political. But how do you feel about the Funimation merger and being rebranded all under the Crunchyroll umbrella?
Fascinating.
It's such a weird situation. I remember going to a convention where like this is early on in Crunchyroll's like actual rollout of being a legal service.
Oh yeah, and Crunchyroll was across from Funimation,
and Funimation was like, they did not look at Crunchyroll very highly because, I mean, first of all, yeah, it's going to be kind of a competition there. There was already a sub versus dub war happening on the internet, and now you literally have the embodiment of subs in the mainstream there with probably like if not the largest, then one of the largest dubbing companies in America / world, I'm not entirely sure. But they were there at the same convention, and Crunchyroll was sponsoring a bunch of stuff. So there's this like weird sort of Romeo and Juliet Montague like thing going on, where it's like, they definitely weren't friendly in the beginning there, at least from what I could observe. And then just to see as everything kind of evolved and moved forward, and now we're literally at the point where, to kind of give it a Dragon Ball reference, it's like Piccolo and Kami have fused. Yeah. And now, consolidation of media, et cetera, double-edged sword.
Yeah. Which I'm of two minds when it comes to the consolidation of media. On one hand, I am actively frustrated with the amount of streaming services that there are, primarily because there is no sharing of content between them, meaning that if you are stuck on one service for one show that you want to watch, and that service might not be very fucking good, and that's just generally anti-consumer. Now, I know that there's a lot of talk about like, well, of course they're going to only be on one service, that's how this works, but I think that services should be actively trying to provide you better service, not necessarily the content.
The biggest issue you run into, of course, is the fact is like, you know, you don't want a monopoly. You don't want it all under one umbrella.
But I don't want Hulu, Apple TV, Paramount Plus, if you could, Peacock, Netflix.
Yeah, if you could bundle things, yeah, sure, that'd be cool. Like if there's like Verve for a while was kind of this bundling of
Verve was great, and now Verve's not going to exist in the next year.
Yeah, but so you run into that issue, and then if you do end up with that bundling thing, then you just run into that same issue that you have with cable companies, where now the bundling company is the big juggernaut that you have to siphon all your money through. So unfortunately, it feels like a cycle, because yeah, I do feel like that's where things are going. It's either going to be the mouse consumes all and it will distribute everything, or big companies like Comcast and AT&T are going to gobble these things up and sell them as bundles to you so that you can get your media fix, you fucking asshole.
And try to remember, just because like, even if Disney say owned everything,
then they control the price.
And you'd still have multiple services.
Oh, of course.
Even if they owned Hulu and Netflix, they'd still have Hulu and Netflix, because why would you charge?
But then they directly control the price of everything.
Yeah.
So you run into that issue, and that is something that I am not qualified to, like, I have an opinion on it, but I am not qualified to discuss what any possible solutions would be.
Yeah. But ultimately, it is pretty crazy that like Funimation is about to like just be Crunchyroll. Honestly, though,
we went and saw the Jujutsu Kaisen movie in theaters, and the Crunchyroll logo popped up at the front of it. It's like, whoa, that's different.
I will say this. In terms of names, Crunchyroll is better than Funimation. Funimation definitely feels like a holdover from the 90s of a time where...
Yeah, Crunchyroll does feel more weeby. Which, hey, that's on brand. That's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
So we have a question from File Xana, and then this actually ties back to a question from the terrible Aussie earlier on that I wasn't able to ask because scrolling. But on a scale from 1 to over 9,000, how happy are you with the legacy and opportunities you've made for yourself as TeamFourStar?
Been insanely fortunate, and honestly, that's thanks to you guys out there. Like, we would be nowhere. We'd be just a couple of schmucks that made, I don't know, I guess we probably would have continued on with DBZA for a little bit until each of us got jobs that let us pay for things that we need.
Yeah.
But you guys made it possible for us to do what we love for a living.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, and you know, no matter what, I will always recognize that Dragon Ball Z Abridged was the thing that gave us fans, job opportunities, convention appearances.
I wouldn't have a voiceover career without it.
Yeah.
Well, I can't say I wouldn't, but I wouldn't have had the same pathway to it.
Yeah, I mean, it's impossible to say what our lives would have been like. Although I will say I might not have met my fucking husband without DBZA,
and the heights that it reached.
Yeah. And weirdly enough, DBZA wasn't just a project that got us fame and a Patreon and all these things. It's also something that helped me actively grow as a person. It introduced me to a lot of people. It put me in a lot of new spaces and places. It forced me in the best possible way to grow and improve. I owe Dragon Ball Z Abridged not only my career, but the quality of person that I have become.
So to answer the question more directly and to, I don't know, fan service it, over 9,000! There you go.
Okay, I can't be mad about that one.
Yeah.
So Scott, you were just like a 9,000?
He is 9,000, I'm 9,001.
There we go. All right, so going back to Abridged, I got a couple questions here. One from Angry Bro. What is your favorite jokes out of all the Abridged shows you've made?
I really, really dig a lot of our Hellsing stuff.
I was gonna say, the one that will consistently make me laugh is the fucking phone call with Jan and his hostage to Integra. I have a very dark sense of humor. It gets me into trouble sometimes, but that fucking scene just fucking kills me.
Because it's so over the top dark.
And Gon plays Jan so amazingly. I don't know if you could have cast that better. I don't think you could have.
No.
Gon as Jan was perfect.
Yeah, he really leaned into that part in the best possible over the top. You cannot take this seriously.
Keep reading or I'll shoot the other testicle.
Which, by the way, was an improv. The original line was kneecap. Gon changed it to testicle.
I love that, man. He's fantastic. Check out Henchman's story. It's full of his writing.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
great.
Yeah, Gon is actually, if I had to be honest, Gon never got to write a whole lot for us, but he is one of the best writers that I personally know.
He's a great writer and he's a great actor. Awesome dude all around.
But yeah, I would say the Hellsing jokes are some of my favorites. It's hard for me to pin down a specific, any specific jokes anymore, because I would really have to go back through a lot of it.
I'll list off a couple of them that are really near and dear to my heart. The one that I will continuously go back to as this is, not my dark humor funny bone, but this tickles my funny bone. Piccolo and Dododabo from Lord Slug, and I blame you for actually knowing that orange character's name.
Yeah.
Every time he gets knocked off the building, and the way that footage just works so well, and he runs back in the building. All right, I'll wait down here to catch him off guard. Hey, how's it going? Oh, it's going all right. Just waiting down here for that green guy so I can surprise him. Neat. Yeah, you'll never see it. Oh, boom! Building blows up. Fucking kills me. The other one that I absolutely adore that makes so many people uncomfortable, which maybe adds to the humor for me, is the Shimotions from Broly.
Oh, the Shimotions. Yeah, no, every time I go back to those characters, I'm like, whoa, we really wrote this.
It's my favorite part to watch reaction videos too, because you never know how somebody's gonna see that. So many people, their faces just do this.
Because they're hyper-masochists.
Yeah.
They're literally, their whole thing is that they want to be subjugated.
It's a race of people, it's an entire alien race that just wants to be dominated.
Yeah. And
I already laughed thinking about why did we forget our safe word? It was lost to time.
I know I shouldn't laugh at our own jokes, but there are some things that I look back on.
Dude, I go back and if I needed to point at something that I say is consistently funny, probably the most consistently funny throughout from us, it's World's Strongest. World's Strongest is still one of my favorite things we ever made.
I gotta hand it to Kirran. He was actually on the scripting for that one, and his additions were top notch.
Kirran's fucking funny, man.
Kirran,
I mean, he was also in there for Android 13 and
episode 46 or 47.
It was the one with the islands. So I think it was 49.
No, the islands were
because 48 was TN.
Yeah. It was the one with the islands. Which because he's a great. Honestly, he helped write all of the Cell verses. Mm-hmm. There were only one or two of them that didn't have his fingerprints on those. He's really funny.
Great guy.
All right. Similar vein, Tib asking, is there a particular scene, movie, or special you guys are disappointed that you never got a chance to abridge?
Yes. For me, it's very easily movie 12. Or no, movie 13. Movie 12 could have been
Wrath of the Dragon?
Yes. See, movie 12 could have been a lot of fun too, because hell, it's the fusion one, and there's a lot going on there, but it's also just a lot of fighting.
It's another taciturn villain.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot going on there. But with 13, okay, since we're probably never going to do this, I'm going to spoil another joke if that's okay.
I don't even remember making jokes for this one, so these are probably all coming from your head anyway.
So I also had a joke for the Broly movies that we may or may not have done, where in movie 10, I wanted Broly to show up, and then the moment Gohan shows up, he beats him, and that's the end of the movie. That's it.
Just beats the shit out of him and leaves.
Yeah, it's Gohan shows up, beats Broly, that's the end of the movie, done.
My idea for Second Coming was going to be that, you know, he's just going on a rampage and he's just yelling Kakarot all the time because that's all he fucking does in that movie.
Yeah.
And then it just like finally they settle it with a talk. It's like, Kakarot? No, he's not coming. He's gone. He's dead. Just gets sad and just has this big long talk with Gohan and Goten where he like talks about how sad he is and how, you know, I lost my dad too. And just goes on this, like, that's the way I wanted that to go. If I had to choose a movie, maybe Bio Broly, because I really, like, it works with some really underserved characters.
Yeah.
Satan in 18, I think there was so much potential there.
Oh God, I love the concept of that movie. Unfortunately, it's just kind of like a nothing movie at the end of the day. But
it really is. It is weird that Broly is this weird pseudo trilogy where the second and third actually have references to each other in them. So there's this weird continuity that we always kind of played with in the movies in general, where we had our sort of, I guess, shadow canon where, yeah, the movies have their own thing going. So we'll just have like a continuous plot where they acknowledge things that have happened.
By the way, I will say this. Yes, Korn and Yajirobe did get married in the actual timeline, not just the movie timeline. Yes, I have been asked that question more than a couple times.
I don't doubt it.
Also,
they had a private ceremony in the real show.
Yeah, and in the show it was a little bit low key. But movie 13, what I really wanted to do was there is this shot where I actually forget how to say his name. If it's
Old Man.
No. Tapion or Tapion.
I always just said Tapion.
But yeah, so Tapion is down on his knees and Trunks has the sword. And Tapion's like, you have to kill me. You have to do this or it's going to come out and it's going to kill all of us. And then there's just this shot of Trunks holding the sword. I wanted to do a shot of negative with like black with a red background where Trunks swings the sword down and kills Tapion. And it's this really dark, dramatic moment. And then cut to the end, Tapion's alive. Wow, I didn't know you guys had
Dragon Balls.
Like Dragon
I didn't know you had a way to bring people back to life.
Yeah, all you had to do was just bring you back to life without the monster. Yeah, and then that was gonna be it. And then fucking Goku in the background was gonna be like, oh man, I was gonna use my Dragon Fist.
I came up with the technique on my own, guys. It's mine.
It was so cool. It was a dragon and it was gonna blast through him and it was gonna like, Goku was going to be so sad he didn't get to use the Dragon Fist. And yeah.
Now when am I gonna use it? Oh, I hope GT exists.
All right. 2 more questions to go.
All right.
Woo. Next one, Scott from King of Doma. What best beer?
Best beer? Honestly, so there's like kind of 2 answers for me. The first answer is the beer that I drink most commonly, like the beer that I think of when I think beer is actually Shiner Bock.
It is beer brand beer.
Yeah, it's not exceptional. It's not like super great, awesome beer.
It's one of the best beers to have with a pizza though. God, I miss both of those things.
You know, you can have them like every once in a while. But honestly, Shiner Bock is that beer that I kind of go to whenever I just like need a random beer. But other than that, like it's kind of a little bit difficult because different kind of beers are different. Like IPAs are very different from stouts. Like if I were to go to IPA, 100 Million Angels Singing is my favorite IPA.
I feel like IPA is always just an excuse. If somebody has like a bad batch of beer, they'll just call it an IPA and somebody will be like, oh yes, I see the refinement in it. Like I have only ever had bad IPAs. I know there are good ones, but god damn.
Or maybe you just don't like hops.
I'm fine with certain hoppy beers.
I mean, IPAs are sort of an acquired taste. Well, I mean, all beer is sort of an acquired taste, but IPAs are specifically like, I don't know. Though Gon made the funniest fucking joke about IPAs that I still use to this day. And he said, IPAs are to white dudes what pumpkin spice lattes are to white women.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, fuck, it's true. But I don't know. I really like IPAs. Well, no, actually, I don't love IPAs, but that's my favorite IPA. I actually am a big fan of triples. Triples are my favorite just in general because there's always like so much flavor density.
What's the difference between a double and a triple?
I actually am not 100% certain.
I'll have to ask your husband.
Yeah, you'd have to ask my husband. But yeah, no, I think it's the no, it can't be distillation, right? I don't know, but I like triples. I used to be that kind of dude who's like stouts, only stouts. Oh, I need my dark beers. Nah, I like ambers too. I like all types of beer except Gosas. They're salty beer. And I'm sorry, I don't want this.
It's like brine.
Yeah, I don't want the salty beer. And also most sours, now that I'm like 35, sugary sour stuff has to be like in the right context. And for beer, nah.
If I had to choose one, there's a brand that I always used to get at the Flying Saucer called Fireman's No. 5.
Oh, fucking fire! Yeah.
Fireman's No. 5 was real good. It's like a more bodyful Shiner.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
It's a wheat beer. I like wheat beers.
Oh yeah, actually, I didn't used to like wheat beers, but now that I've gotten older, wheat beers have actually really grown on me. So.
All right, last question. We're gonna get a bit more serious as we go out, but Grand Gentleman asks, what advice for people trying to build a team/business with friends? Like basic business advice, I suppose. What boundaries are there? Specific guidelines or rules TFS follows?
There is so much that can go right and so much that can go wrong as soon as you mix money with friendship. Because money is unfortunately one of those things that you need to survive. And figuring out how to make that split work in a way that is agreeable for everybody, making sure nobody feels like they're being slighted somehow. As soon as you mix money with either friends or family, you are already kind of teetering. You're playing this very dangerous balancing game with all of those relationships.
One of the things that they don't tell you is that when you are starting a company and you are in a place of power, that ultimately, no matter what, changes the dynamic between you and the other person. You can say over and over again that, hey, I want you to be open and honest.
Don't think of me like a boss. Don't think of me like this. But at the end of the day, when it's your name on their paycheck, it changes things.
Yeah, and they might not feel comfortable being as honest as they want to because they're afraid that their only source of income, that their path forward, that their professional life might be in jeopardy.
No matter how much you tell them it isn't.
Yeah, and there's just not a lot you can do about that. And it's one of the reasons that, one, you absolutely, and I'm going to emphasize this because it's a hard lesson I had to learn, you need to be professional. You have to be a fully professional and like go through all of the rigmarole that, you know, a lot of people talk about, like, oh, I hate jumping through hoops. I hate having to triple and check everything.
There's nothing that fucking kicks you in the dick more than, like, you know, wanting to have this fun clubhouse where you're all working together doing fun things, but then like having all of that like need to take place in a context of you need some professionalism to balance that out. It feels wrong to you because, again, you're doing this with friends, but once you add something as, you know, like, again, money is one of those things that you need to survive. You need to buy groceries, you need to buy fuel, you need to buy a roof over your head. Once you add that in there, it becomes difficult. And it's something that I don't even feel like I have a big right to speak on because I still feel like I'm still learning.
Yeah.
But if you really want the advice from lessons and mistakes learned, it really comes down to this idea of communication. you need to be able to communicate openly with everybody that you're working with, whether they're your partner, whether they're somebody that you are paying to do a service. You need to make sure that they feel like they are being treated fairly. And if they aren't, if for whatever reason, if they're unable to speak up on any of these matters, there's something going on there, and it's honestly something that can be at times difficult to recognize, or even impossible to recognize, depending on what's going on in your own frame of mind. One of the most difficult things for me in life is just learning to navigate other people. I barely know who the fuck I am. And all of a sudden you're throwing another living, breathing meat computer with its own wants, needs, dreams, and idiosyncrasies. What the fuck are you doing, you know? And to mix in the idea that you guys are building something together. We've had several fights. You and Taka have had a lot of fights. Taka and I have had fights. We've all had disagreements in one way, shape, or form, whether it comes from miscommunication of something that's like, okay, somebody expected one thing, something else happens, and nothing was properly communicated, or if there's just a actual legitimate disagreement in the fundamental values of the people. There are so many things that can happen, but communication is the way through it. And that's just something that I believe.
And communication is one of those tough things to kind of establish in the first place, primarily because, like I said, no matter what, there's always going to be sort of a power dynamic, especially if you are, say, the CEO of the company. I know for a fact that there have been times in the past where people have been uncomfortable talking to me about the way that they feel about things because they're worried it's going to cause problems, that like I'll be angry or frustrated and that will reflect heavily upon them. So we actually had to set in place HR. You know, we have somebody on staff who takes these things in and works with us. They get to be the bad guy that people in the company don't want to be by causing these problems or bringing up issues.
More often the middleman.
Yeah. Which, you know, there were times in the past where I'm like, I don't want middlemen. I just want people to talk to me, but I have to understand, like, and again, I'm going to emphasize, people just don't quite grasp what it's like having to rock the boat when your livelihood is on the line. Especially
when you're on like the side of the coin that we're on, where you don't see that. Because if we have disagreements, we'll fucking talk it out.
Oh yeah, no, you know, I will fucking tell you to your face.
Yeah, I have fucked up numerous times. Like, not gonna lie, there were instances where I have fucked up where it's like, I don't know if you should be a part of this anymore. We worked through that, but yeah, like it's one of those things that becomes not only so like deeply personal, but it's also professional.
Yeah.
And it's such a difficult balance to strike. So when it comes to really starting up something with people that you trust and care about and, you know, really want to work with, go for it, but be ready for some very tough conversations as you do it.
I'm going to say this, and I don't want to discourage anybody.
No.
I've heard from the past people say, do not start do not start a business with your friends. I've heard that flat out. Don't do it. And frankly, I think there's a little bit of wisdom in that.
There is wisdom in that, but...
hold on. I do think that if you are going to do it, you need to flat out establish immediately from the outset what that situation is going to be, and you have to commit yourself to it. You have to commit yourself to, we are professionals, hard decisions are going to be made, we have a structure, and we have ways to communicate that don't implicate us and put us in a like, you know, that work through that power dynamic. People need ways to be held responsible, say when the CEO does wrong or one of the employees does wrong. There has to be like checks and balances. If you do not have that, even if everything seems to be going right, emotions will get involved. People will get frustrated, afraid, concerned, anxiety builds, things break down, and the next thing you know, you are not able to keep shit together anymore, and you might have just burned those valuable friendships that you cherished.
Yeah, I don't want to discourage anybody from working with their friends necessarily, but it is something to keep in mind, because one of the big things that comes in, especially when money is involved, is distribution of labor. And you know, there's this idea of like, okay, who is putting in, and you know, like from effort being put in to what is being made by their effort. And that is going to be one of those biggest capitalistic conundrums of all time. It's like, okay, so Kaiser here, he puts in so much of the heavy lifting to make any of this happen. He is the bottleneck for many of the projects, you know, X Minutes, DBZA. There are people that help him with those things, but at the end of the day, if it were not for you, that stuff wouldn't exist. So when it comes down to, you know, distribution, you get a larger share of said distribution. I'm a writer, I'm a performer, I'm a key part of a lot of things. I don't make as much, but I make more than certain other people. And that's just a matter of it. And that can really, yeah, that on its own right there can end friendships.
Yep. It's really rough.
And if I can say something as someone who's kind of helped you navigate this problem, you need an agreement between all your friends that are in this business. You need an agreement that lays out how you're going to handle decision making. You can't just rely on rule by consensus. You have to handle the distribution of any sort of payout and labor. And you also need to handle what happens if friendships turn sour and one person in the business wants to peace out, cut and run. You need that before you even get started, because it's gonna happen when you're in the middle of it. And if it happens when you're in the middle of it, it's a lot more destructive.
You can live in that honeymoon phase forever, but nothing like that lasts forever. There will be a disagreement. And you know what? If you get into a group and it just works out for, like, you know, you're Ben and Jerry forever, fucking perfect, amazing, great. I'm sure they were at each other's throats a number of times, but, you know, you make it work.
Are Ben and Jerry actually people?
I don't fucking know. Probably. I assume at some point they were.
I have no clue. I don't know.
Okay, look, you're left Twix and right Twix forever, man. Until you get the split, and then the Twix brothers are having issues across the street from their various factories. They still make those commercials.
Yes, I still get them when I watch it all the time.
By the way, thank you. As a jaded millennial, the only way that I can see reality is through the lens of the pop culture that I've consumed. Thank you.
It's a good tool and it fucking helps, you goddamn sycophant.
It's a stereotype for a reason. I don't know why you're blaming him for that. All right, well.
Look, all I'm saying is capitalism is like Voldemort.
Look, I'm just saying Mike and Ike had a split, okay? So if Mike and Ike can split, it can happen anywhere.
And one of them became president, so he can really accomplish something.
I don't know if I like that. I'm sorry. Hot take. I'm sorry.
I think we're done here. On that bombshell, that's probably going to be the end of this Q&A.
I like Ike. This shit's over.
Yep. See, this is what ruins friendship.
The end.